Hey friends, Becca Scott here. Thank you so much for lending me your views on this video. That's actually how I gain power and grow stronger to become the Dragon Lord I was always meant to be. But hold on, let's back up for a second here. We're talking about Dragonbond Lords of Vaala, the new game from Draco Studios, now on Kickstarter. You can find a link to it in the description below, or click this little button right there. Lords of Vaala is set in the Valernian realms, where every 27 years, dragons come to scorch the earth like some high fantasy fire-breathing cicadas seeking power and doling out destruction. Lords of Vaala is an area control and faction combat board game that feels like a combination of Risk and if your favorite dragon fantasy novel had a baby. It's like if Christopher Paolini got his hands on Axis Nihilus before it went to print. Lords of Vaala has an extensive setup requiring 4 players to fill the roles of 2 generals and 2 dragons. If you're playing with smaller groups or for solo games, you're gonna need to fill the extra seats with unfilled player boards, also called automatons. Essentially, players at the table take turns for empty seats with an abridged set of player actions. Players are going to take turns placing cards in an action stack until one player passes. They then resolve cards to activate corresponding actions on their player mat that do things like raising armies, invading territories, destroying enemies, casting mighty spells, and forming Dragonbond alliances. All the while, you're gaining power tokens to win the game. Although the game can be won in a single round of 3 phases, planning, resolution, and cleanup, the game will reset and continue until one player reaches 10 power tokens, or a team of dragon-bonded players reaches 15 power tokens. Basically, when a general and a dragon end their turn in the same location, they have to check it out and see if they've become dragon-bonded. It's kind of like speed dating, but for dragons. If any one player is eliminated in combat, or if the action deck ever empties, then the game end is triggered and the player who currently has the most power tokens is declared the winner. It may sound complicated, and that's because it is. This game has an intricate process and procedure for everything that makes it a very specific gaming experience. It often feels like each rule has an exception or a condition, which in many ways feels like an old school fantasy game where each play leaves you consulting the rulebook for more information and guidance. If you like the crunch of dungeon crawl classics, you know what I'm talking about. This is a game that might be really intimidating for new players, but for more experienced players who love deep fantasy settings, Dragonbond Lords of Vaala offers this classic fantasy experience. You've got gritty dice rolling combat, player politicking, and very strategic decision making. This game has really beautiful art style, very elaborate dragons, and although what we saw is just a prototype, opening the game box feels like opening a game from decades ago, like it's Jumanji, or a game out of time. The map is stunning and has these beautiful muted colors. Honestly, you could hang it on the wall and probably get a lot of compliments on it. Now, you know I love fantasy role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons, and Dragonbond Lords of Vaala has a couple ways to scratch this itch. First, these beautiful 4 custom sculpted minis, and art from Tom Babby, who's worked on both D&D and Magic the Gathering. This game is for you if you are a fan of Risk, but you want a little quicker version with that high fantasy flavor, or if you're a fan of crunchy combat games that have that player versus player action so you can grind through on a quest for power. Final thoughts? This is a game with a very specific audience that loves dragons, wargaming, and competitive tables. If you're looking for a tactical strategy game where your choices and alliances will make or break your efforts and dragons and armies roam the lands seeking the ultimate power of Vaala, this game is for you. Thanks so much for watching this video from Good Time Society. If you want to give me more draconic powers, you can subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We'll see you next time.